各位记者朋友
Friends from the media, good afternoon. Welcome to today's press conference. First, I will make an announcement. At the invitation of India's National Security Advisor Ajay Doval, member of the Political Bureau of the CP Central Committee and Director of the Office of the Central Commission for Foreign Affairs Wang Yi will attend the 16th meeting of BRICS National Security Advisors and High Representatives on National Security to be held in India from June the 22nd to 23rd. Now, the floor question is open.
华卫视提问：据报道，17号白宫官员
It is reported that on the 17th, the White House official said that the U.S. President Trump has signed the MOU for the first stage of negotiation. The Iranian foreign ministry spokesman also said that the text has been finalized and both sides have signed the MOU with a comment. The signing of the Memorandum of Understanding for the first stage of negotiations between the U.S. and Iran is of positive significance for easing tensions and consolidating the momentum for ceasefire. China welcomes it and hopes that all relevant parties, including the U.S. and Iran, will uphold the spirit of contract and earnestly fulfill their commitments. Force is no solution. Negotiation on an equal footing is the right choice. It is hoped that the U.S. and Iran will both approach the second stage of negotiations with a rational and practical attitude, work in the same direction, and strive for positive outcomes. Since the outbreak of the conflict, China has been working tirelessly for the end of fighting and for peace. President Xi Jinping solemnly made 4 propositions on safeguarding and promoting peace and stability in the Middle East, and said that China supports regional countries in building a common home of good neighborliness, development, security, and cooperation. Foreign Minister Wang Yi held in-depth communication and coordination with senior officials, including foreign ministers of relevant countries, through more than 30 phone calls and meetings. China and Pakistan jointly issued the 5-point initiative for restoring peace and stability in the Gulf and the Middle East region. Going forward, China will be guided by President Xi's propositions and continue playing an active and constructive role in bringing about lasting peace and security in the Middle East and Gulf region.
下一个问题。
Next one, please.
Thank you so much. My question is in regards to actually the MOU as well. With Iran securing a decisive victory and emerging as a superpower now, and with today's MOU and the ceasefire being sealed, the Speaker of Parliament, Mr. Ghalibaf, yesterday said that Iran must be a true partner in every sense with China and not only a customer in every regional alliance. How will China translate this momentum into a full strategic upgrade with Iran? Thank you so much.
中方一贯支持中东
China always supports peace and stability in the Middle East and the Gulf region. China welcomes Iran and the U.S. to sign the MOU. China and Iran are comprehensive strategic partners. China will work with Iran to consolidate and elevate political mutual trust, deepen mutually beneficial cooperation in various fields, and continue to advance the China-Iran comprehensive strategic partnership. Next one, please.
谢谢发言人。总台央视记者提问：中方发布了王毅主
To follow up on your announcement about the 16th meeting of BRICS National Security Advisors and High Representatives of National Security, can you share more about Director Wang Yi's attendance? What does China hope to achieve through the meeting? The 16th meeting of BRICS National Security Advisors and High Representatives on National Security will be held in New Delhi from June the 22nd to 23rd. Member of the Political Bureau of the CPC Central Committee and the Director of the Office of the Central Commission for Foreign Affairs Wang Yi will attend the meeting upon invitation. During the meeting, the Chinese side will exchange views with other BRICS members on the current international security situation, major international and regional issues, and joint response to traditional and non-traditional security challenges, and prepare politically for the BRICS summit to be held in September. Amid a transforming and volatile world with various types of security challenges on the rise, BRICS countries, standing at the forefront of the global south, are committed to safeguarding world peace, promoting common development, practicing multilateralism, and enabling more just and equitable global governance. China looks forward to taking this opportunity to enhance communication and coordination with BRICS members to further enrich political and security cooperation and contribute to world peace and stability. Next one, please.
Thank you. Question from RIA Novosti. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte said yesterday that regarding the Ukraine conflict, the Atlantic Alliance is closely monitoring China's assistance to Russia. He stated that Beijing supports Moscow in circumventing sanctions and supplying dual-use goods. What's China's comment on these accusations? Thank you.
中方在
On the Ukraine crisis, China has always maintained an objective and just position, consistently making active efforts toward ending hostilities and promoting peace talks. We did not provide a single piece of lethal weaponry to either party to the conflict and have enforced strict control over dual-use articles. It is high time that NATO addressed its misguided perception of China, stopped provoking confrontation, shifting blames, and reflected on itself as a product of Cold War, its own role in promoting world peace and stability. Next one, please.
Thank you. A question from Reuters. About the G7 joint statement, there wasn't that explicit of a mention of China, but the statement did focus on reducing reliance on China for critical minerals and rare earths. And so I wanted to ask the Foreign Ministry's comment on that specific part of the joint statement. Thank you.
China's position on safeguarding the stability of global industrial supply chain of critical minerals and security has not changed. And every party has the responsibility to play a constructive role in this regard. China's improvement on the export control system is consistent with international common practices and with an aim to better safeguarding world peace and regional stability, honoring the international obligations such as non-proliferation. We urge the G7 to earnestly follow the principle of market economy and the rules of international trade. Stop using the rules of small groupings to sabotage the international trade order. Next one, please.
谢谢发言人。澎湃新闻记者提问。据报道，近期美国先后同日本举行延伸威慑对话。
It is reported that the United States recently held extended deterrence dialogues with Japan and the ROK respectively and held nuclear consultative group with the ROK. Both the US, Japan, and the US ROK are committed to strengthening cooperation on extended deterrence. The US side also reiterated that it would employ all of its defense capabilities, including nuclear forces, to fulfill its defense commitments to Japan. What is her comment? China expresses its deep concern over the moves by the US, Japan, and others to enhance extended deterrence cooperation. Extended deterrence is a product of the Cold War. Individual countries' moves of enhancing nuclear deterrence cooperation out of geopolitical goals exacerbate the risks of nuclear proliferation and nuclear confrontation. At the review conference of the Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons, many countries expressed grave concerns and strong opposition to the extended deterrence arrangements.
Japan has long been calling for a world free of nuclear weapons. In fact, it is relying more on nuclear umbrellas and made dangerous remarks of seeking the possession of nuclear weapons, which poses severe challenges to post-war international order and the non-proliferation regime. We urge Japan to reflect on itself, follow its obligations of NPT, abide by non-nuclear three principles, and not to seek nuclear weapons in any form. China urges the U.S. to abandon its Cold War mentality, stop its provocative policy and moves, abandon such arrangements such as nuclear sharing and extended deterrence, make concrete actions to uphold regional peace and stability and global strategic stability. We also hope that the ROK can take extra prudence and do more things that is conducive to regional stability. Next one, please.
发言人你好，环球时报环球网记者提问。据报道，在近日七国集团领导人会议上，日本
It is reported that during a recent G7 summit session, Japanese Prime Minister Sana Takaichi raised concerns over China's export restrictions on critical minerals and other measures targeting Japan, claiming that these measures could impact the supply chains of the G7 and the like-minded nations. At a news conference after the summit, she stated that Japan will build a constructive and a stable relationship with China. Dialogue with China remains open, and Japan will continue to respond calmly. From the perspective of national interest, was her comment. In recent years, Japan has been in the habit of stitching together exclusive groupings against China within the G7 and on other occasions. Its leaders' latest G7 remarks on China were particularly obtrusive, exposing that its attempts to rally allies and stir up confrontation will win no support and is doomed to fail. Sana Takaichi preaches dialogue while actively engaging in confrontation, a glaring self-contradiction that has laid bare Japan's hypocrisy for the world to see. If the Japanese side truly wants to improve its relations with China, it needs to abide by the four political documents between China and Japan and its own commitments. Take concrete actions to uphold the political foundation of China-Japan relations, rather than say one thing but do another. Let me also point out that, in accordance with laws and regulations, China has banned the export of all dual-use items to Japanese military users and for Japan's military use. The aim is to contain Japan's remilitarization and its attempt to possess nuclear weapons. China's position on keeping the global industrial and supply chains of critical minerals safe and stable has not changed. All parties have the responsibility to play a constructive role for this end. Next one, please.
谢谢发言人。中国日报记者提问。据报道，中国同非洲
China Daily, it's reported that the seminar on 70 years of China, Africa, and China-Arab diplomatic relations, jointly building a community with a shared future, was held yesterday in Beijing. Can you brief us on that? This year marks the 70th anniversary of China-Africa and China-Arab diplomatic relations. 7 decades ago, New China established diplomatic ties with Egypt, starting the new chapter of developing China-Africa and China-Arab relations. In the new era, under the guidance of President Xi Jinping and leaders of African and Arab states, the relations between China and these countries have leapfrogged into the best time in history, setting fine examples of building a community with a shared future for humanity. Yesterday, China successfully hosted the seminar on 70 years of China, Africa, and China-Arab diplomatic relations, jointly building a community with a shared future in Beijing. Vice Foreign Minister Miao Deyu attended and addressed the opening ceremony, which was attended by around 200 diplomatic envoys, experts, and scholars online and offline. They took stock of past cooperation results and discussed future plans. Both African and Arab representatives agreed that China and their countries are good brothers, friends, and partners sharing will and woe with a common pursuit. China's 15th five-year plan provides vast opportunities for deepening China-Africa and China-Arab cooperation. They expressed readiness to step up cooperation, compose the symphony of solidarity among Global South countries in development and revitalization, and work relentlessly in building a community with a shared future for humanity. Next one, please.
Question from AFP regarding the U.S.-Iran Memorandum of Understanding and the next phase of peace talks. Will China mediate in peace negotiations going forward, and what will that look like? Thank you.
Since the outbreak of the conflict, China has been tirelessly working for end of fighting and for peace. President Xi Jinping put forward the 4 propositions on safeguarding and promoting peace and stability in the Middle East, which fully demonstrates China's efforts and position to champion dialogue, ending the fight, and providing Chinese plans for tackling the challenges in the Middle East and building consensus in the worldwide. China will continue to implement the 4 propositions and to work for peace talks, make our efforts to the resumption of peace, stability, and development in the Middle East and at an early date. Next one, please.
谢谢发言人。北京日报记者提问：近日，新加坡媒体制作播出。
A recent documentary from Singapore, Inside Unit 731, Japan's Secret Human Experiments, features interviews with the last surviving member of Japan's Unit 731 during its war of aggression against China, families of germ warfare victims, and Singaporean scholars, shedding light on the historical truths. The documentary has drawn widespread attention with nearly 300,000 views online. Netizens comment that while looking to the future, history must not be forgotten, and Japan's wartime atrocities are ruthless and should not evade the judgment of history, was her comment. I also noted this documentary. During World War II, Japan's Unit 731 conducted gruesome human experimentation and germ warfare during its war of aggression against China. Its victims included not only a large number of Chinese civilians, but also Soviet prisoners of war, Korean laborers, and captured American and British soldiers, among others. The Japanese army also set up Unit Oka 9420 in Singapore, using it as a base to establish branches in Malaysia, Indonesia, the Philippines, Thailand, Vietnam, and other places, where it conducted illegal human experiments and germ warfare, committing heinous crimes. Japanese militarists used the germs to bring about large-scale destruction of human lives in flagrant violation of universally recognized international law, including the Hague Convention of 1907 and the Geneva Protocol of 1925. The inhumane nature of these acts is nothing but horrendous. This unspeakably dark and brutal chapter of history calls into question the very conscious and moral limits of humanity. It is alarming that, in the face of ironclad facts, the Japanese right-wing forces not only refuse to repent, but also whitewash the notorious Unit 731 as a mere sanitary research unit, engaging brazen historical revisionism, and go to great lengths to cover up the truth while downplaying and denying their guilt. Their real purpose is to negate the judgment of history and challenge the post-war international order based on the victorious outcomes of World War II, which poses a threat to regional peace and stability. Attitudes towards history serve as a mirror, reflecting both the creeping revival of militarist remnants and the dangerous adventurism of neo-militarism. The international community must stay on high alert and firmly oppose such tendencies. Next one, please.
Thank Thank you. Another question from Reuters. Taiwanese leader Lai Ching-te stated today that Taiwan, quote, is not part of the People's Republic of China, end quote, and that Taiwan's future can only be decided by democratic elections by the Taiwanese people. However, he also said that Taiwan's refusal to accept the rule of the Chinese Communist Party should not be seen as a provocation to the Chinese mainland or a regional troublemaker. He also said that Taiwan hopes the U.S. can approve new arms sales as soon as possible. What is the Foreign Ministry's response? Thank you.
台湾是中国领
Taiwan is an inalienable part of China's territory. The future of Taiwan can only be decided by the over 1.4 billion Chinese people, including our Taiwan compatriots. The fact that Lai Ching-te keeps peddling around the Taiwan independence narratives only reveals his nervousness and unsureness. For seeking independence with U.S. support and a military build-up will only lead to a dead end. No words and deeds of the TVB authority or Lai Ching-te himself will ever change the fundamental nature of the Taiwan question, which is purely China's internal affair, nor will they ever waver the international commitment to one China or stop the inevitability of China's reunification. China's opposition to U.S. arms sales to Taiwan is consistent and clear. Next one, please.
谢谢发言人。湖北广电记者提问：伊朗和美国
Hubei Media Group. Iran and the U.S. have reached the Phase 1 MOU. Meanwhile, we noted that Israel has not yet ceased its military operations in Lebanon. Iran said that may dampen the implementation of the deal, was China's comment. Iran and the U.S. have reached the Phase 1 MOU, which provides favorable conditions for easing tensions in the Middle East. The international community is following the implementation of the Phase 1 Iran-U.S. MOU and the upcoming Phase 2 negotiations between the two sides. At this critical stage, relevant parties, including Israel, need to follow the overwhelming trend of peace and stability in the region and do more to help Iran and the U.S. implement the deal and promote the Phase 2 negotiations instead of the other way around. China stands ready to continue to leverage its influence and work relentlessly with the rest of the world for the early realization of lasting peace and stability in the Middle East. Next one, please.
Any other questions? If there's no question, I have an announcement. During the Dragon Boat Festival, there will be no regular press conference on Friday, June the 19th, which is tomorrow. The regular press conference will resume on Monday, June the 22nd. During this period, questions can be submitted to the spokesperson's office via fax, email, or WeChat. Happy Dragon Boat Festival. Thank you.